often avoided question, the question of oil wars. What is common between Iran, Venezuela and Libya? All of them face an internal crisis and external sanctions, and they're oil rich. You may have heard this sentence in the last few years, from oil barons, from tech giants, even from some millennials. The statement is this: data is the new oil, and this statement needs a careful analysis. Of the commodities that we use, oil still remains the most sought after commodity. Yes, countries push for renewable energy forms, researchers across the world come up with newer energies, but oil remains the most important and most usable form of energy. Yes, the tech companies are the top stocks in the Wall Street and elsewhere, but their asset prices are inflated. Oil still is the currency of the world. Why am I saying all this? Because it's for oil the modern wars are fought. Strategic, geopolitical wars. Take the case of US sanctions on Iran. Donald Trump took the world by surprise when he decided to wipe out Iran's oil exports. This is because that is equivalent of pumping up oil prices. Immediately, the Brent crude rose over $74 a barrel. In one statement, the President of the United States spread panic in oil markets and distorted the supply, demand, and ultimately the price of crude oil. What does the decision mean? Over 1 million barrels of Iran's oil exports are out of the window now. Such a decision begins a geopolitical crisis. Countries that consume oil, like China, have already said that they will not abide by the rules of the US. If Iran is a potential flashpoint for a fight between the US and China, then in Libya there is an outright war. When the US ended the Gaddafi regime, it highlighted how it set up democracy by replacing an authoritarian dictator. Of all the countries that brought democracies at the peak of the Arab Spring in 2011, the Libya example is the starkest. The oil output has since been rising in Libya, only to be curtailed thanks to the war in Libya, the one that is funded by the Saudi regime, the same regime that has the tacit support of the United States. This is how modern imperialism works. And the less said about Venezuela, the better. Under Nicolas Maduro, inflation had risen over 12,600%. Yes, that is the figure, 12,600% inflation. GDP growth in 2018 was at minus 16% in Venezuela. The economy has shrunk by 70% since 2011. About 87% of the population lives below the poverty line. The average Venezuelan has lost 11 kilograms of weight in 2070. Those figures sum up the humanitarian crisis in this country. It is not a pretty picture. The figures show the failure of the Maduro government. But what did the US do? It imposed sanctions. It attempted to overthrow the government and set up a yes man instead. The purpose was to control the commodity, oil. I'm not blaming the US of playing the oil markets alone. Russia is a bigger culprit, some would say, and a bigger participant in the war for oil. Russia is officially not part of the OPEC cartel. OPEC includes countries like Algeria, Angola, Ecuador, Equatorial Guinea, Gabon, Iran, Iraq, Kuwait, Libya, Nigeria, Congo, Saudi Arabia, the UAE, Venezuela, Indonesia, and Qatar. There is no Russia there. But they control the decisions of OPEC, be it on the supply threshold or the pricing. Russia is a non-existent boss of the oil-producing countries. In 2016, with Russia's consent, the OPEC decided to slash output. Why did they do that? Because the low-price regime of crude oil hurt the oil-producing countries, and Russia needs all the access to the oil. Its fast-growing oil industry is not growing at the rate it was, and hence, to rebalance its economy, Russia plays the oil markets, and with it, the geopolitics that comes along. And that's why you see Russia involved in conflicts in oil-producing countries in the Middle East, in Africa, and now in Latin America. So between the United States and Russia, the war for oil continues, and other countries are taken for a ride, gifted democracies only to be overthrown at a desired date. That is because oil is the commodity. It's for oil the US and Russia indulge themselves in countries and organize systematic geopolitical differences that sometimes lead to conflicts, even wars. And that is the Venezuela story. Ahead on this show, Russia also wants its own private internet. They've passed a law. They'll have it later this year. Why do activists say this is disguised censorship? We'll explain. Facebook is betting big on a new dating feature that helps you connect with your secret crush. We look at why this late entry into crowded dating market may not deliver. Israel remembers the victims of the Holocaust, 6 million Jews killed by the Nazis in the Second World War. And the suspense of over the royal baby continues, with its horoscope already being debated.